VR Technology Within Mental Healthcare by Kisho Ito. Now, what is mental health? Mental health relates to our mental, psychological, and social well being. It most affects our thoughts, emotions, and actions and could be easily manipulated by outside forces such as biological factors, including genes or brain chemistry, life experiences like trauma and abuse, and a familial history of psychological disorder. Although we may not be exposed to the consequences of mental health issues, it is common for an individual to have a disorder. Throughout a Japanese civilian's lifetime, only 18% experience a period of psychological illnesses, which is lower than other countries that surpass 30%. Mental disorders most develop when a person is 10 to 19 years old. The issue then starts to heavily influence a person's lifestyle and habits of 20 to 29-year-olds and 30 to 39-year-olds. Mental illnesses and its influence amongst a whole differs per age group. Kids below 10 express their mental disorder through their impatience or violent and reckless actions. As kids go through puberty, they start to develop mental disorders that resemble those of older age groups, such as panic disorder, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. Despite the overflowing evidence to prove its severity, mental health care is less cared for than mainstream healthcare, for the reason that it is not as concrete. However, people also fail to realize the life-flapping effect of these mental illnesses and its potential for suicidal thoughts. It is said that individuals who are in great need of mental health care are the ones to actually refuse receiving treatment. Now, why could this happen? HighWatch Recovery System states 30 to 80% of mentally disoriented patients refuse the treatment for the following reasons. Within this video, I will try and uncover how VR treatment conquers restrictions 1, 3, and 4, and possibly encourage those to engage with VR mental health care or any healthcare. I also intend to spread general knowledge and awareness regarding psychological disorders to those who aren't that aware about the topic as well. When we all think about VR technology, we usually come up with the headgear regularly used for the sake of entertainment. However, the technology is also effectively and practically used within mental health care. The video will break down its use within social anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Social anxiety is most intertwined with stage fright, the fear or discomfort that amasses as you persistently accuse yourself of being watched or judged by others. It is a form of social phobia that badly influences work, school, and daily activities, potentially constructing borders and issues amongst friend groups. Depression is a relentless cycle of sadness, loss of interest, and unmotivated period that makes daily challenges appear more difficult. The race for suicide and depression is also a topic that is heavily studied during recent times, and is most often intertwined, says Meadow JP. Depression is said to affect 1 in 15 adults, and 1 in 6 individuals are said to experience the disorder throughout their lifetime at least once. Finally, PTSD is a psychiatric disorder that occurs amongst those who've experienced traumatic events. These could range from natural disasters, terrorist attacks, war, combat, or personal experiences. The disorder forces these individuals to relive their traumatic experience through flashbacks and nightmares, thus causing them to harbor a period of sadness and anger. It makes them feel more detached from society and social interactions. Now, let's dive into how VR is used to treat these patients. A form of VR treatment, specifically VRET, is under development and practice for treating patients with social anxiety disorder. VRET is inclining to a service that is more affordable, more accessible for the betterment of social participation, and to encourage those who hesitate receiving treatment by establishing a more comfortable environment for their well-being. Once a patient is immersed, the doctor or examiner generates a vast number of social environments for the patient to participate in, and could further manipulate and adjust these environments to meet their requirements based on the severity of the disorder and their specific social phobia. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, VR might put you in front of an auditorium of people. If you're afraid of talking to strangers, VR can generate any number of new people for you to interact with and practice your small talk. Just like how presence or attention fears those within Vivo, VRET is capable of illustrating the exact effect upon the user within a more enclosed environment. Still, the platform enables patients to embrace emotions they would otherwise, and leads to behaviors similar to those within the real world. This false exposure to social interactions makes overcoming social anxiety possible as patients proceed with the treatment, knowing that there aren't any physical threats towards their safety. The results of the treatment are promising, claims Dockwire News. Students who embark a phobia against spiders claim VRET to be an easier source of exposure than in vivo. 81 to 89% of students preferred VR, and for general phobias, it was 76%. Reason being that they do not want to confront their fears in person. Immersive virtual reality is a method currently used to treat patients with depression. Similar to how social anxiety is dealt through immersive techniques, where individuals perceive physical existence inside a virtual program via sound or stimuli, treatments for depression further provoke emotional control, believing that patients become less critical and more compassionate towards themselves. However, one crucial difference between the two is embodiment. From a headset virtual screen, they are able to view a reflection of themselves via a third-person point of view. Their reflections relive the depression-triggering event, and the patient has to react simultaneously to the situation through options that describe their current status. These choices then project onto their reflection. The whole idea behind this treatment is that by observing oneself from a different point of view, therapists would be able to better guide the patients throughout their disorder and reach recovery. It is better to think of the treatment as a supplementary tool for therapists. In the end, it educates patients to manage their thoughts, feelings, and reactions against depression triggering events, and also prepares those for future circumstances by mitigating the negative emotions and converting them into positive ones. The treatment is also convenient and cost efficient. By undergoing therapy within a controlled environment, it avoids physical contact with bystanders and creates a better environment for patients to conquer fears, anxiety, and stigma, all of which the patients are exposed to within regular therapy. Furthermore, with enough treatment, individuals be able to better adapt towards real-life situations where their emotions come into play. A system developed by Professor John Bison, named 3MDR, is said to be treating Vietnam War veterans with PTSD. Within the treatment, they are asked to walk on a treadmill, and before them, a large screen projects images that directly relate to war, such as jungles and helicopters. Although a process that may seem cruel towards these veterans, those who have developed PTSD from combat experiences may never overcome their anxiety disorder for the general risk of exposing individuals to war once more. The convenience of VR technology now comes into play. The idea of presence, the ability to inflict vivo emotions and habits, even within the virtual world, allows them to further engage and confront the situation realistically without fear of physically inflicted damage, an aspect of PTSD treatment that is especially important for these veterans. Here is a story of one of the many patients who currently suffer from PTSD yet are seeking treatment. Matt Neve joined the RAF at the age of 16 and was deployed into battle at age 18. His component role was as a medical driver and was responsible for picking up wounded soldiers. It would be easy to think of his mixed and sometimes corrupt emotions that take a loaf of him. Feelings of fear, upset, and anxiety always roamed his mind. He quotes, "It eats away at you so much that some things got to give in the end. And unfortunately for me, it was my mental health." Suicidal thoughts were a reoccurrence, and getting a hold of his life was especially difficult, he mentions. Bad habits like partying helped him forget, for an instance, about his PTSD. Still, a year after, symptoms of PTSD started to occur via flashbacks and drove him into alcoholism, which had a big influence on his family. His wife even mentions to come back a totally different person to the one before he went, and to not know the reason why. It made me think, do I really want to be with that person at the time? But we did fight through it. In an attempt to flip his life around, he proceeds to receive therapeutic treatment 12 years after leaving the RAF. Yet, no clear improvements were seen in his condition. That is where he is scouted to the 3MDR trial. Within a 2-year trial that hosted 41 other veterans similar to Matt, 37% deemed it beneficial, alongside a veteran who quotes, "It had given him the biggest impact out of any treatment." Currently, 3MDR tries to work on a system that is more friendly towards a larger group of audience, other than those of war veterans, says Professor John Bison. As demonstrated, VR technology strives within our current society not only as an entertainment device, but more as a psychological treatment application for a wide variety of patients. It is really exciting to see how much of an improvement we will see for VR treatment, considering how technology improves day and night. This was Keisho, and thank you for listening.